Hey guys, welcome back to Carnal Dish. Today I'm going to show you how to dry brine, spatchcock, and roast a turkey. Now for this video, I want you to focus more on the technique than the recipe. The recipe can and always will vary depending on what you have the taste for. So just pay attention to how it's dry brine and roasted and you'll be in good shape. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take out that useless thermometer that comes in the turkey. We're also going to rinse it under cold water, pull out the neck, and pat it dry with paper towels because we're about to spatchcock this bird, or butterfly it, whichever term you prefer. And it's just a process of taking your scissors or your kitchen shears along either side of the backbone and just trimming it away as best you can. Once you butterfly your bird, just go ahead and give it one more rinse to make sure that there aren't any leftover pieces of bone or cartilage that might have been left over. And you're going to pat that dry and make sure that you press down. I'm taking the wishbone out here, but make sure you press the breast meat down as best you can. You really want this bird to be like one even layer. That's the whole point of spatchcocking. You want to make sure that the turkey cooks at the same rate, the breast meat and the dark meat cook together. So make sure you press it down as flatly as you can. Then you're going to take your dry brine mixture, mix that up, and this is going to go under the skin. Now this can be any seasoning that you want. It can just be salt. So make some pockets under the skin, separate the skin from the meat of the turkey, get all up in the thighs and the legs, and just massage your dry brine mixture into the meat, okay? You really want to concentrate the dry brine, especially like on the breast meat where it's the driest. So just give it a nice even layer. Do not think that you're going to use too much salt, okay? I'm telling you that this bird can take it. So flip it over and apply even more of the dry brine salt onto the flesh side of the bird. And we're going to pat that dry. Then I want you to sprinkle the outside of the skin with just plain kosher salt. And make sure you give it a nice coating. It should be completely coated with salt. Do not think it's too much. Again, it's going to be just fine. Tuck the wings and get this bird in the fridge so that it can do its osmosis thing and dry brine for 2 to 3 days. Okay, so it's time to roast the turkey, and make sure you take it out of the refrigerator about an hour before you plan on roasting so that it can come to room temperature. I'm going to lay my bird on top of a pan of aromatics and some fresh herb. And because my turkey is a little larger than the baking sheet itself, I'm just making sure that it's protected. I'm going to put some foil on the end of one of the legs that's sticking out, and make sure that the skin is completely dry. Go ahead and rub it generously with olive oil and maybe give it a little shot of some freshly ground black pepper. And we're gonna get this in the oven, 450 degrees, and it's gonna cook until the breast meat registers 145 degrees, which is a little lower than what they recommend you cook it. But because this bird will continue to cook once we take it out of the oven, it's gonna be completely safe to eat. If you take this out when the breast meat is 165 degrees, that temperature will climb, and then at that point it'll be overcooked, and you may risk drying out the breast meat even though we did all that brining work. So let's avoid that. And we're gonna go ahead and get started with the gravy. So take your turkey neck and the backbone and make sure that it's chopped up into big chunks, and just saute that in a skillet with a little bit of olive oil. And we're just looking to develop some color here so that our gravy has some nice flavor. This process should take anywhere from maybe 7 to 10 minutes. You want to make sure you get some nice color. Add your aromatics and just get those wilted down, which will take about another 5 minutes. And then you're going to transfer this mixture to a saucepan. The amount of chicken stock that you add will vary on how many guests you plan on having over, but have at least 2 cups of chicken stock in this mixture. I think I have about maybe 3.5. So you just want to make sure that, all the meat and the vegetables are covered. And we're going to add our freshness. We got some fresh thyme, some rosemary, and some sage, the holy Thanksgiving trinity. And I'm just going to add a little bit more chicken stock. And 2 bay leaves. Very important. I'm gonna add a little bit more chicken stock just to make sure that it's completely covered. And we're gonna cover this and bring it to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to remove the lid and reduce the heat so that it's at a nice simmer. What we're trying to do here is extract all that delicious flavor from the turkey neck and the backbone and just make sure that our gravy is nice and flavored. After about 30 minutes, just, give everything a toss and make sure that all the flavors are nicely combined. And then we're gonna let this cook another 15 minutes or so. And you wanna make sure that you give this mixture a taste. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt because I'm using a low sodium chicken broth. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes and my mixture is nice and reduced. So I'm gonna take out the meat, the turkey neck and the backbone, and I'm gonna give this a taste. You can see how much it's reduced, so it's nice and concentrated in flavor. Oh my God. Well, it's ready. So we're gonna go ahead and take all that meat out and go ahead and strain this mixture. And you wanna pour this into a bowl or a large measuring cup just so you can see how much you have. Again, this is more about the technique than the recipe. This will always vary depending on how many people that you're feeding. I'm actually gonna end up pouring my mixture into a fat separator, which is very convenient for separating the fat from the liquid solids that I plan to use. If you don't have a fat separator, you can just go old school like grandma used to do and just skim off the fat with a spoon. It's no big deal. At this point, your turkey should be out of the oven and should be resting, so I'm gonna pour some of the turkey drippings into the gravy base, which is gonna make this even more delicious. So now it's time to make the gravy. So we're gonna take the same saucepan and melt some butter, add a little bit of flour, and make a basic roux. You wanna go ahead and cook this for about maybe 1 to 2 minutes just to make sure that that raw flour flavor is out. We do not want that in our gravy. We're going to slowly pour our strained chicken stock mixture into this, just a little at a time, whisking as we go so that we don't have any lumps. And we're going to just continue to vigorously whisk this just to make sure, like I said, that it's lump-free and get all up in the corners of the saucepan where little pockets of flour can tend to hide. We're gonna bring this mixture to a full boil, and then we're gonna reduce the heat down to about medium and just let it continue to simmer for 10 minutes. And go ahead and add a little bit of black pepper, give that a whisk. The moment that this beautiful gravy starts to reduce, we're going to add a little bit of cognac. I'm using Crown Royal Maple Cognac. If you don't have this, you can use anything that you have. Bourbon, whiskey, rum, vodka, anything that you want, okay? It does not have to be totally specific. Add about a half a shot to a shot. I wouldn't go more than a shot. And just, stir that in there and make sure that the alcohol burns off. And let it do its thing for about 5 minutes or so until it's, a good gravy consistency. I added a little bit more, don't tell anybody. Make sure you taste the gravy for any seasoning. If you need more salt or pepper or anything else, it should be perfect. Let's go ahead and tie this whole thing together. Look at our beautiful roasted bird. It is nice and golden brown. It's been resting for an hour, and when I cut into it, you're gonna hear how crisp the skin is, and you're gonna see how hot it still is too. Which is another reason why I told you to take it out at 145 in the breast meat, because it continued to cook and it stayed nice and hot. But take a listen. Oh my God, it's so crispy. The skin is just like a cracker and the meat is so juicy. Go ahead and carve your beautiful dry brine turkey, and I hope you have a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
She make you wanna lick the plate. I know you love